Hey Ed, what's this camera doing here? Yeah, I don't want to do a tech talk this week. I feel like LG and Samsung will be fine, if I don't do it. So let's skip this week. We'll do it another week. We'll be good. Okay? Or you know what? We might. Okay. Yeah. Let's do a tech talk. Yeah.
Tech Talk.
Hello and welcome to another Tech Talk here at Rickydees Productions. My name is Ricky, and today, the day I am recording this, Samsung and LG had two events. Each one had one equaling two. Releasing their new flagships. Samsung releasing, of course, the Galaxy S7, and LG releasing, of course, the LG G5. Here to recap them for you, give you my thoughts on what I think is good and just what it is. Okay, let's start off with the LG G5. Let's start off with specs. This guy's repping a Snapdragon 820, 4 gigs of RAM. Weird setup in the back. I'll have a picture right here. It's two cameras. It's a 16 megapixel regular camera and an 8 megapixel wide angle camera, so you can capture more. It's wide, if you know what I mean. It's kind of a weird setup there, kind of like what HTC did, but not with the depth type of thing. This is more just to capture more. It can merge photos using the wide angle and regular photo, and you can also just use one lens. So you can have one, if you want to just use the regular, you can use that, or if you want to, you can also just use the wide angle. In the front, it's also sporting an 8 megapixel front camera, so I don't know if that matters to you, but it's pretty good there. It also has a 5.3 Quad HD display with 554 pixels per inch. Of course, LG does LCD displays, and 5.3 is actually a departure from their last two devices. They've gone down, which I personally like. I don't like big devices, so I'm glad they decreased that. Hopefully they go down even more. It also comes with 32 gigs of storage on board. You can also expand that with an SD card. So with LG, they completely reinvented their phone. It's totally different from the LG G4 or the G5. It's got a full metal unibody design, so there's not even antenna lines to even disrupt it like the iPhones and HTCs. They got this new technology, I can't remember what it's called, but basically they don't need to have any antenna lines. It can go straight through the metal and it'll work perfectly, which I think is pretty cool. The part that I don't think is cool is that it kind of makes the design of the phone boring. It looks kind of like a graduated 5X, so like if you look at it, it looks exactly like a 5X except with a longer camera module there, and also the fingerprint sensor is bumped up. So I feel like they were trying to kind of give the phone more character on the back by, giving it some depth with that camera bump and the fingerprint bump, but I feel like they kind of failed. It doesn't really look good from the back. And they also have 4 different colors for it. It's like there's a pink, there's a dark gray, there's a silver, and then there's a gold one. They all look terrible, honestly, in my opinion. It's just not a very good looking phone. One thing I did think that was cool about it, in terms of design, is obviously the metal, but you know how they have back facing buttons? Well, they got rid of some of them. So the volume rocker is on the side now, like regular phones. But the power button is actually the fingerprint sensor. So you actually just press the fingerprint sensor, which I think is cool. And the front, it looks pretty good. It's got the LG bottom little border there, which I always kind of thought always looked pretty good. So I'm okay with the front there. But yeah, it's a completely different phone, especially from everything they had before. And it's also different from phones just in general. This guy's got it's a modular phone, so you can add things to it, and LG calls them friends. Basically, you can have different friends, and basically the bottom portion of your phone pops off, so you can just lob this thing off, and that holds your battery. So it still does have that removable battery, but you can take that off, and you can put in different modules. So you can put in a bigger battery that has an extra back here, or there's also one that I thought was pretty cool. It's a camera, so it basically adds a bump here, and it basically gives you physical controls for your camera. There's also one for audio that lets you stream music at a higher bit rate. So if you're an real audiophile, then that's a good thing for you. But It's a cool way to make a removable battery in a premium design, since that really hasn't been done before. And it also adds this whole other set of features that can be implemented into it. And I really hope that LG pushes these friends and that it gets even better and better. Because honestly, it's freaking cool. Honestly, they also did release a VR headset for it. This one's a little bit different than most. It's kind of like the Gear VR, where it does use your phone, but instead of actually putting the phone in the headset, you just have the headset, and then there's a cord that plugs into your phone, so you can have it in your pocket or your breast pocket or whatever you need. I don't know, I haven't tried it out, but it's kind of cool because it's small up here, but then you do have to deal with a cord, which I don't like. I'd rather have it completely, just a single thing there. But yeah, I definitely think the LG is pretty cool in terms of just thinking about what it is. I think it's pretty cool, but in terms of design, I think it kind of looks ugly and weird. I'll have to check it out in store and get my final opinion on that. But big thing about me, which I'm kind of concerned with LG, is it's always is software. It's a little more white now. Looks a bit more flatter. So I hope they really focus on software, because software has been terrible with the G4 and the G3. Okay, let's move on to my favorite one, which is the Galaxy S7. Let's start off with the specs. It's sporting a Snapdragon 820, 4 gigs of RAM, one 12 megapixel camera on the back. Cool thing about this camera, and they really focused on camera, and I'm glad they did, because the S6 and Note 5 had great cameras. I'm not expecting anything less from these guys. So it's got this dual pixel design to it, which is supposed to work like your eyes. You know how you have two sets of images and then your brain kind of meshes it into one? That's kind of what Samsung is going for with this new camera. It's got two pixel design, two view design, and it's supposed to be doing that and kind of give the picture more depth and just end up getting more of a better picture. 100% of the pixels work towards autofocus. They showed a picture during the press event that only 5% on iPhone is used. So they're using every single pixel available to be able to get a quicker focus. So instead of laser autofocus with the LG, you now have a bunch of pixels, sorting out where everything is. And you might notice that they did decrease the megapixel size from 16 to 12, and that's because they actually increased the size of each pixel. So each pixel is now 1.4 microns, kind of like the Nexus line. So basically a smaller megapixel rate, but bigger pixels basically means more light equals better picture. It also has a smaller camera in terms of bulge. Before it kind of bulged out more, and they've actually cut that down by 75%, which is super awesome. It's going to be pretty thin. It's going to be a pretty thin phone, even with that camera bulge. And then you also have a 5 megapixel front camera for your selfies. So the S7 isn't a brand new phone like LG did. You could mistaken it for last year's. It looks pretty similar to the S6, but honestly it feels like a perfected version of the S6. They perfected the design. They improved the way it feels in your hand, even though it already felt great. They just kind of improved on everything that was there, and I'm actually excited for this phone more than the G5, even though the G5 is brand new and completely different than what was before. It just feels like Samsung knows what's good, and they're just moving on with that. And I totally don't knock them on this phone. I feel like this is going to be the phone that I'm going to be holding for the next year, unless Nexus does something awesome. But honestly, it's a really good phone. I love it, and I'm excited to test it out, unbox it for you guys, and everything. Now, one thing I do want to mention about both phones is that they both do have SD card slots, but in Marshmallow, if you know that it does have adaptable storage where you can basically merge SD cards with internal storage, and basically LG and Samsung didn't let you do that at all. Now I kind of understand where they're coming from. Maybe, I don't know if this is exactly, but my thoughts on it is that they probably didn't want people who are using really slow class 4 cards in their phones to be using that as adaptable storage, and then them thinking their phone is trash because their SD card is actually trash. So I think that's why, but even if that's the fact, I think they should have pushed that into developer options or something, because honestly, it's a cool feature, especially when you're only at 32 gigs and some people might want more. I don't think that's I think it's kind of a low blow from them. And also another thing is none of them mention security updates or updates at all. And god damn it, come on, you're huge companies. I like Samsung and LG both promise monthly security updates, and we still don't have them. Especially Samsung pisses me off about this because they do have that Knox system in place where they can actually push security updates through Knox that actually surpass carriers. So it kind of pisses me off there that that's the way that is. And it just pisses me off that they still haven't fixed that problem. And they really need to do something about it. Even the monthly security updates like BlackBerry or the HTC One, A9 does, like I would be totally fine with that. I don't need the whole new software version, but I at least want the security updates to make sure, you know, I'm not going to get my data stolen on this freaking expensive ass phone. Anyways, guys, that's my opinion on the S6 and G5. I'm definitely going to get the S7. But tell me what you're going to pick up. Or if you hate both of them, tell me and tell me why in the comments section. Make sure to like the video if you liked it and subscribe to see more. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.